Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a really powerful sermon, and it tackles three of the heaviest hitters in Christian theology. We're talking about sin, hell, and salvation.
Okay, so the sermon really doesn't pull any punches. It kicks off with this incredibly direct, high-stakes claim right here. And this isn't some minor point. Nope, this is the foundation for the entire message. It immediately sets up this huge problem, right? And a problem like that, well, it's going to need a solution.
To really drive home just how serious this warning is, the pastor goes straight to a passage in the book of Mark, where Jesus himself is the one speaking.
Wow, I mean, those are some pretty jarring words, and the sermon is quick to acknowledge that. But it also clarifies, right away, that this is absolutely not meant to be taken literally. You're not supposed to physically harm yourself. It's actually a powerful symbol. So this is how the sermon breaks that down. The real message is that if someone in your life, even a person as close to you as your own hand, is leading you down a path of sin, you have to make a radical break. It's a metaphor for just decisively removing any influence that's pulling you away from God.
Okay, so if the warning against sin is that extreme, it really begs the question, what exactly is sin according to the sermon? Let's take a look at how it's defined.
The sermon actually frames its answer as a direct response to this very question.
So this is the main definition we're given. And the idea here isn't just about, doing bad things. It's broader. It's about failing to live up to God's standard, missing the mark, so to speak. And the sermon says we miss that mark because of our own choices and because of our built-in human weaknesses. And then the sermon really fleshes this out by pulling from other biblical sources. And what you see is this kind of progression. Sin isn't just actively doing something wrong, it can also be failing to do the good thing you know you should. It starts small, right? Internally, with a desire, a lust. And if that's not checked, it just grows. And the sermon says its ultimate destination is spiritual death. So let's pivot to the other half of that initial warning, the consequences. If sin is the problem, then this sermon argues that hell is the absolutely terrifying result.
And again, the sermon anticipates the listener's next logical question. Okay, so what exactly is hell?
Now, according to the sermon, hell isn't just a place, it's also a condition, a state of being. And, importantly, it's specifically for those who make a conscious choice to reject Jesus. So this frames hell not as some kind of default destination, but as the direct consequence of a specific choice. The sermon paints this incredibly vivid and, harrowing picture using some intense biblical imagery. It's described as a state of never-ending, conscious suffering. There's no rest, no relief whatsoever. The pastor even adds a modern touch, pointing out there's not so much as a fan or air conditioning to ease the torment. And to make this really concrete, the source uses a famous parable. You have this rich man in hell, and he sees a poor man, Lazarus, in heaven, and he begs for just a single drop of water, just one, and he's denied. The whole point is to illustrate this state of inescapable agony and, deep regret. So after laying out the problem, sin, and the consequence, hell, the sermon pivots to give a solution. And it's presented in this really simple, clear, three-step memory aid.
This is the big one, right? This is the key question the whole sermon has been building to. The pastor frames it from the perspective of the listener. Okay, I've heard all this. How do I escape?
And the answer that's given is a really simple, memorable framework, the ABCs. It's designed to be a straightforward process that anyone can understand and follow.
So step one is A, for admit. The sermon's point is that the path to salvation can't even begin until you first acknowledge the problem in your own life. It's about accepting that you, like everyone else, have missed the mark. And that Bible verse is used to show that this is a universal human condition.
Next up is B for believe. So after admitting the problem, the solution presented is to put your complete faith in Jesus Christ. The sermon uses this really powerful story from the book of Acts, where a desperate jailer basically asks, "What do I have to do to be saved?" And the answer is, just believe. And the final step is C for confess. The sermon really hammers this point home. Belief can't just be some private, internal feeling. It has to be paired with an outward, public declaration. As the text suggests, what you believe in your heart and what you confess with your mouth, they're presented as two sides of the very same coin for salvation. All right, let's get to the conclusion and see how all of this gets wrapped up into one final, powerful call to action. So after laying out the stakes, the problem, and that three-step solution,
The sermon's core message is that the responsibility now falls completely on the listener. It's not presented as some doctrine you just passively accept, but as an active, personal decision that has to be made.
And really, it all boils down to this single ultimate choice. The entire sermon has been building the case for these two very distinct destinies, and it frames this as the single most important decision a person will ever make.
And that's the final thought the sermon leaves with its audience. After all is said and done, the central takeaway is that the power of choice and its eternal consequences rests entirely in your hands. A stark problem, for sure, but also a clear path to a solution.